Hi everyone, this is Adrian here with the Spirit Up Show, and today I'm going to be speaking about what exactly is the productive state. What exactly does it mean to be productive versus being unproductive? Now, why does that matter? Well, first of all, we actually live in pretty difficult times. Seeing that around me, clients actually asking for more and more help on how to get more productive. And because times are tough, I think the first thing we need to do here is to overcome certain misunderstandings that do exist on what exactly it means to be productive versus to be unproductive. And, the adage goes, you cannot really improve what you don't measure. Seems pretty obvious, right? Pretty clear. But you cannot really measure what you haven't yet identified as measurable. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? You need to have identified clearly what it is you want to measure and then start measuring it. And I think that for many people, what you could measure in terms of productivity is misunderstood. And so I'm going to make here a very clear case. Give me, in very few seconds here, 5 traits, typical traits, that are for you identifiers of your unproductive state. Just like this. If they don't pop up your head right away, it's because you're a little bit fuzzy on what it means to be unproductive. And I should ask you the same thing. What does it mean when you're productive? How does it look like? What would I see? What would I physically see? What would I hear if you're productive? How does it work? Physically. Like concretely, tangibly. And more in the background, what are your thoughts? If you're not able to tell me like this, what are the traits that would qualify for being productive or unproductive, then there's still work to be done. Because it creates, like knowing what you're going to measure and how to measure it, creates cognitive dissonance. Because the clearer you are as to what exactly it means to be productive, the clearer you are as to what it means to be unproductive, the quicker you can get from one state to the next, to the other. If being productive is this big concept that's not very clear, your brain doesn't know how to get you there. It needs to have a clear mental image, a clear mental picture of what it looks like when you're productive. That way you can actually move quicker into this productive state. And why am I speaking to this right now? Well, because I spend much time looking out for tools, tricks, tips, strategies to become more productive, because I was really, really unproductive. Like, I know what it's like to simply not manifest what I want to be manifested and get things done. And so I looked kind of everywhere, and like what I could see on like the tip of the iceberg of productive people is, well, they were doing a lot. They were doing massive things, like working on so many different projects, had a personal life, had a job, a pretty important job, had massive responsibilities, worked in associations, in the community. Like they were, for me, impressive in terms of the quantity of things they could actually do. And so I equated to doing a lot with being highly productive. Just like it's not the top of the iceberg that sank the Titanic, it's the bottom of it. Like, what didn't I see? Like, okay, they do a lot when I look at the top of the iceberg, but what is beneath the surface? What is productivity on that level? And so I did try many things out, but I needed to actually have an understanding, more strategic understanding of what it is to be productive, because simply doing more didn't get me any more productive. I got more stress. I lived highly unhealthy. And so that couldn't be a solution for me. And I am part of the NLP community. That's the neuro-linguistic programming community. And what we're interested here, when someone comes up to us and say like, hey, I need help, I'm unproductive, for example, I will never say why or what happened or tell me your story. I actually don't care. It's kind of rude, but I actually don't care. Why? Because what matters is how. How do you do unproductive? How do you manifest that state of unproductivity? That's really helpful to know. And when I say how, is what are the images you're having in your head? What are you telling yourself? How do you use your physiology? What do you focus on? what is the meaning you attach to things? And I already gave you the 3 things that we all kind of need right now because the times are tough. We all are looking for things that we can control. So many things are outside of our control, and I think we ought to have a few things that we feel we can control. And I know it helps me, it soothes me a lot. So I hope you'll find a little bit of peace in here, because feeling out of control is horrible. And what you can control is your body, right? I mean, I can get up now, I can move my hands, I can shake myself, I can like move quickly, fast, or I can like slow down, I can change my pitch and my voice and the rhythm, I can speak much louder, or I can be speaking much like with a much lower voice. All this are things I can actually control. I have power over them. What people don't believe, or what people don't see actually, as long as they haven't tried it, is that our physiology directs or has an influence, a massive influence on how we feel and on all the emotional states. So using your physiology is something you can control, and is something you should control. So that's the first thing you can do. The second thing is whatever you focus on. You know, if a glass is half full or half empty, both statements are true if in fact the glass is half empty or in half full. But you'll be pointing out something very different if you look at the glass half full. Now that's something you can control. You know, people are used to look at the world in a certain way, but that doesn't mean that it's the only way. So looking at the focus, like how you focus on things in relation to productivity, might be very powerful for you. And what comes naturally from your focus is the meaning that you attach to things. That's something you can actually control. The meaning is, for example, let me give you a concrete example. Imagine we're in the desert. It's really hot and you've been thirsty and you're so hot. You haven't drank in hours. And I come and I take like this bottle of water and I throw it all on you and it's all fresh and you're like, that was good. And you drink 2 liters of water. Imagine the same thing happens. I do exactly the same thing, but we're not in the middle of the desert and it's not 40 degrees. We're in Antarctica and it's minus 10 degrees. I think the meaning you'll attach to that same move, throwing water onto you, will be kind of different. You know, and that's a silly example, but just want to make clear what I mean with meaning. What is the meaning that you attach to what happens around you, to the circumstances around you? That's something you can actually control. And now that I've given you like the 3 things, you know, like the physiology, the focus, and the meaning, which are really things you can control, it's why I'm saying you this is so that you can get clear as to what you're looking for. You know, being productive is being clear as to how do I move when I'm productive? How do I use my body? How fast am I? How quick am I? How swift am I? What do I focus on when I'm productive? Am I focusing on all the opportunities, on all the wow, awesome that are going to come from whatever I'm doing? Or, it's hard, it's tough, it's a challenge, I'm lost, I don't know. Like, what are the things you're telling yourself when you're productive versus when you're unproductive? And then what are the meaning of those situations? You know, like when things are tough, when you say, oh, wow, that's tough. I mean, if it is tough, I'm not going to tell you, change the fact that it's tough. No, it's tough. So if something is tough, just say that it is tough. But what is the meaning that you attach to toughness? Does it mean you will abandon? Does it mean because it's tough that you'll do something else? Or does it mean, wow, great, it's an opportunity. It's tough, so it means that if I follow through, I'll get great rewards afterwards. That depends on the meaning you will attach to a situation being tough. That's up to you. That's something you can control. Like, most people don't know that, or most people know that intellectually but don't use it on an everyday level. All right? So let me tell you here that productivity is not doing a lot. It is not doing everything. And it is not being perfect. Like that, what you see on top of the iceberg, it's BS. It's not about that. What it is, and that's a definition that comes from Getting Things Done, The Art of Stress-Free Productivity by David Allen. Productivity is being relaxed, in control, and meaningfully engaged. 3 things. Relaxed, in control, and meaningfully engaged. Relaxed is obviously the opposite of being stressed out. It's being just, I'm fine with whatever is happening right now. I am relaxed. In control means I know what I'm not doing. I know what I am doing. And I feel that I actually can control things. And the cherry on the cake of that state is that you start being okay with everything you can't control. It's an actual wisdom, to know the difference between what you can control and what you can't control. And the productive state gives you, well, not everything, obviously, but a great perspective on what it is you can control and what you can't control. The next action, that's something I can, in most cases, control. The big outcome are things I can't or more difficult to control. And being clear to that is essential, because you don't waste time working on things you can't control. You don't waste your energy on being pissed off at things that you can't control. You spend most of the time on things you can control. So it's really, really powerful to realize that. And the third thing, and probably the most important thing that comes naturally from being relaxed and in control, is being meaningfully engaged. Now, what does that mean, being meaningfully engaged? Being meaningfully engaged means you summon the right resources according to each and every situation you're facing at every moment in time. So if you are on a high-stake call with a client, and you have to persuade him, it's a big account, you might lose him, and you are in this battle for the client, and you're doing everything, to hold on to that client, and you need to persuade him and to argue and all and all and all. You'll need very particular resources. You'll need to be highly focused. You need to be very attuned to every little detail your client or that account is telling yourself. You need to feel the situation. You need to know when you're going too far, what is enough. It requires lots of resources. Now, let's say you hang up, you're done. The next minute, you call your loved one, your partner, your spouse, whomever, and probably in that moment, you'll need different kinds of resources, And the idea of being productive is the ability to be in that moment where you're with your client or with the account on the phone, being so present, not worried about anything else than whatever you're doing right now, not disturbed by anything else than whatever you're doing right now. All the resources are there, present. And the moment you're off that situation and you're on the call with someone else, all the other resources that are needed for that, being loving, being caring, being listening, all that comes in that new situation in a split second. I know that in the past, I spent most of my time, I needed, hours, to move from I'm in a work mode to I'm able to go to bed. Now it's that fast. Why? Because going to bed requires different resources than being working. And I need to be summoning up those resources very quickly. And that's what is meaningfully engaged. When I'm with my daughter, I summon different resources than when I'm working. And that's what it is to be meaningfully engaged. So, quick recap here. Being productive is not about doing so much. It's not about doing a lot. It's about doing whatever you're doing profoundly with all your resources here and present. Where you're relaxed, you're in control, and you're meaningfully engaged. That's the real definition of what you should be looking for in terms of productivity. So what I want you to do is to take a piece of paper, it's an actual work, guys. It's not don't think about it. Do it. Right? Whatever you think about, you lose it. If you don't use whatever I'm giving to you, you'll lose it. You'll never get better at it. So take a piece of paper and think of a real unproductive state. Now, I'm looking for your unproductive state. Don't think in general terms of what it is to be unproductive. Take your situations, situations in which you wish you'd be more present, more productive, in which you wished, if only I was more present in that moment, if only I could have summoned the right resource, the right confidence, the right energy, things would have been different. take that kind of situation and ask yourself, what are your thoughts? Right? So what do you focus on? How is your body? Are you tensed? Is your head down or your shoulders back? How was your voice when you communicated with someone? Did you laugh? How were the muscles on your face? All tight like this or all open like this? Did you actually smile or not? Did you have a serious look or a fun looking one? Like, try to really boil it down to the actual things I could actually see with you. How did you breathe? Deeply, profoundly, or very shallowly? Like, be on the lookout for the physical identifiers of your unproductive state. And on the other level, look at whatever you focus on. What are your thoughts? What are you telling yourself? What are the images you're having? Are you worried? Do you draw like worst case scenarios or best case scenarios? And finally, what are the meanings that you attach to that unproductive state? What is the meaning you attach to that unproductive state? It might be difficult to do. It might be like you might need to do it once, twice, 3 times. Because if you're not used to be observing yourself in that way, it requires, it's a muscle, right? And if you haven't trained that muscle yet, you need to train. You need to start. So just start small. Just start once. Do it once. Give me 5 minutes of it. Just take 5 minutes. Like I use that as well. Like I use this cube and just put 5 minutes and do the exercise. Just once. And maybe next week a second time. Do that for both states. Unproductive state and productive state. If you do this, you'll start to nurture your brain with what it should be looking out for in order for you to be productive. The productive people are not the ones that are constantly productive. They're actually those that know exactly when they're unproductive and move just like this into productive state. It's something completely different, right? It's not about being all constantly high up, high energy, high performance. It's about knowing when you're not and what would be meaningfully engaged in that moment to move to a more productive state quickly instead of being consumed by being unproductive. So many people dwell on the fact that they're unproductive, and it only gets worse. If I keep thinking of everything that is not working, then I won't find solutions. I know that when I'm productive, it's a little case study here. Like, I tried to get more productive, but I didn't know what to be on the lookout. And once I realized that actually all my problems, I had like real problems. I will never get to them if I stayed in that unproductive state, because it systematically brought me wrong answers, bad answers. Thinking when I was unproductive didn't yield in any kind of results. And being productive is not, again, about doing, but it's about the results you'll get. So if you realize, being unproductive equals bad results, then you'll have an incentive to move more quickly out of that unproductive state. Sounds very obvious, but to many people it really isn't. And if it's obvious on a cognitive level, great. If you know this already here, but do you do it? Like, do you do the work that brings you from unproductive to productive states? Ask yourself that question. Like, be accountable for yourself. Like, I want to be your accountability partner. If you're not, then please shoot me up. Like, if you need help, please tell me. I'm here and happy to help. But whatever you can do right now is take a piece of paper, do that kind of exercise. And please don't think in general terms. Think in your own terms. Be patient with yourself. Take the time, redo the exercise. Be on the lookout of both physical signals, thinking signals, and the meaning you attach to all of this. I hope it helped. Please share if it did. Please post any questions if you have. I'll be happy to answer and to engage with you. And until then, I wish you a wonderful day. And as always, live up to your potential and God bless. Cheers.